Farmview with Kieran O'Connor on WLR.
Brought to you by GlanviaConnect.com.
Hello and welcome to Farmview. Well, as usual, it's Kieran O'Connor here with your weekly farming programme, and once again I have a very busy show for you this week. But on this week's programme, of course, on Brexit, with less than 1 month to go, we discuss the UK's brinkmanship for any type of EU-UK trade deal. We'll talk to market specialist Phelim O'Neill. I'll also talk to Paul Curran about his homegrown Christmas trees now on sale in the Dungarvan area, and we hear about Ardmore's Open Farm Christmas Winter Wonderland now up and running in Ardmore. And plus, as always, we'll have our farming calendar.
Farmview with Kieran O'Connor on WLR.
With GlanviaConnect.com, Ireland's biggest online farming shop and more.
With Brexit literally just a few weeks to go, we're joined thankfully by Phelim O'Neill. He's the market specialist for Irish Farmers Journal. We've been speaking to Phelim over the last number of years. Indeed, we spoke to him a few weeks ago. As we enter the last few weeks, Phelim, how are things there now? Have we moved on? Have the issues still the same? Is there anything resolved since I last spoke to you as we enter the last few weeks before Britain exit the EU?
Hello, Kieran. In many ways, things have stayed very similar. The issues that are there that remain to be resolved to get the deal over the line, they're pretty much the same, and they are around fishing, where the UK wants to take back control of its territorial waters. And then the other issue is the EU desperately trying to lock the UK into maintaining EU standards and EU policy in terms of industry support, the level playing field that they talk about. Those have been the crunch issues for several months now. We keep hearing bits and pieces that they're getting closer, and I think it's a case of everyone knows what needs to be done, but until it actually happens, then nobody will say that the deal's not there until the deal's on the table.
Now, as regards certification and indeed origin, that whole area, and there's lots of complication there. There's also talked about processed meat. Where are we there, or is that still very much on the table?
We've got a few things, I suppose, that have come out into the open over the last week or 10 days that are really what you would call practical examples of how life's going to change. This issue of processed meat, basically the EU don't have a certificate, a veterinary health certificate, to cover fresh, chilled processed meat. They do have for frozen. Not that big a deal from the point of view of what the major Irish companies are exporting to Britain. Products that they send over there are essentially whole cuts of meat, and whatever processing takes place either in the distribution centres or in their special facilities there. But where it does come into play, this is for what you would call smaller speciality businesses, those that maybe import, for example, and remember there's a two-way flow, those that maybe import speciality meats, whether that's a salami or a dried or a cured product or something like that, for top-end delicatessen. Similarly, you will have Irish food manufacturers that perhaps have a meat product and ready meals they would have been sending chilled to the UK. So again, not something from a farming point of view that's a major issue, but from the point of view of an Irish business that's involved in that area, it is. And of course, the bit that sometimes we tend not to give priority to, Irish consumers that would have got into the habit of going to supermarkets and picking up products and from all over the world, essentially. You know, you will find after the 1st of January there are some of those that are missing, both for commercial economic reasons and for the fact that they can't get proper certification on them. And this is Brexit at work.
Phelim, when it comes to Brexit preparation, I know you were on a recent immediate tour of Dublin Port, the facilities that are there, and as regards the preparation that we've undertaken to ensure that we're ready for Brexit. Indeed, what's the story on Britain as regards that as well, from a truck point of view and about organising truck parking there?
Kieran, it was something that really brought the reality of what it'll look like home to me. Wandering into Dublin Port and finding my car parking space and watching a boat just with lorries fly off it, uninterrupted, unchecked, just drive straight on through. And we were then escorted into a large warehouse area, probably the size of 2 football pitches, and 25 inspection bays on it. Now, of course, it's deserted at this moment apart from the visitors, but again, the people tell me, come back here in 6 months' time and you'll see each and every one of these operational checks are in place. And this reflects, and the Irish government would have said that I think upwards of euro have been committed to Brexit in terms of all the things that have been done to get ready for it. There's no doubt serious investment has taken place at Dublin. I'm sure the same is going on at Rosslare and at Dublin Airport. That's fine, and of course we import a lot of food products from the UK, and that's necessary as part of the EU. What would be worrying, and again looking at this through the lens of an Irish farmer that is supplying milk, dairy products, milk, beef, lamb, etc. to Irish factories, whenever it comes the other way, the UK haven't got to the same stage of being ready yet. I don't think any of their port facilities are what you might call ready to go on day one. I know also that they have a customs software program that will be 3rd of December before it's ready. Now, given the experiences that there's been with the Test and Trace app in relation to the pandemic, how confident can we be that it'll be ready to go day one? And then we have the wider issue, of course, of it's not just the Irish deliveries into the UK that we worry about. We also have to think of the land bridge that we use the UK to go on access to the continent. Now, I know at the end of last week we had the announcement there from Russell Airport in the southeast of a new route that was being developed to Dunkirk, good, and that's welcome. But the reality is, in terms of shipping capacity, we use that through the UK an awful lot. And they're talking about having a border going into the Kent in the southeast of England where lorries have to have a permit to get access to that point to make sure they can get on the boat. And all of these things, when you pull them together, Ken, it just the mind boggles as to how are these pieces are all going to fall into place, all these pieces of the jigsaw going to fall into place in January 2021, a matter of 30-odd days away from now. It is frightening.
When one thinks of it and sits back, we've been talking of Brexit for the last couple of years and now it's getting closer to D-Day as such. With UK ceasing to be part of the EU on the 1st of January, can you see a bit of brinksmanship there? Do you still feel that there's a possibility of a deal, or do you think there's no possibility at this stage? Do we have to just forget about it?
Look, Kieran, of course there's always the possibility of a deal, and of course there's brinkmanship when it comes to negotiations like these. But the thing that we have to, and we cannot lose sight of, is that this deal is really a damage limitation exercise. The real and big part of harm that's going to be caused to trade, and trade both ways, both into the UK and out of the UK, is with the bureaucracy, the red tape that's being reintroduced that we got rid of, or thought we got rid of almost 30 years ago. The bit why the deal is still worth having is because if you don't have the deal, you have massive tariffs come on to cheddar, you have massive tariffs come on to, and that effectively closes these Irish exports out of the UK market, and something that has a direct and an immediate hit on Irish farmers. So look, the deal I still think is there to be done. Most people still have that view that it'll be there to be done. Fish come into the middle of it, and if it's not done, we have an even bigger problem. But don't forget, with Brexit, with the introduction again of customs and veterinary certification, with all of that, you have a red tape burden that's going to cost money and finish up ultimately costing the supply chain. And we know that when that in and hits the supply chain, the bad news is it usually finishes up in a farmer's pocket.
Two areas before I go, and I think we touched on there, the impact that you see it having on prices, number one, both for the farmer and indeed for the consumer going into the supermarket, and secondly, the whole Northern Ireland situation, just the two of those, prices and the Northern Ireland situation.
Yeah, we carried a feature with Patrick Coveney, Chief Executive of Greencore, and of course from the famous Coveney political family. And he would see that there's going to be potentially, in the UK anyway, a food inflation cost of anything up to 5%, then that's just an inevitability or a consequence of it. The Northern Ireland angle, again, like so much around Brexit, a huge degree of uncertainty prevails. In theory, Northern Ireland is sorted out by the withdrawal agreement, and a procedure is in place to allow trade to continue across the island of Ireland. Maybe not such a big issue down in the southeast, although I know that there's one dairy company in the north will go down deep into that part of the world to source some milk, and Glanbia, I know, is one of the companies that would also source some milk in the north for their factories in the north. Very much so for
Virginia, yeah, correct, in that area, yeah.
Yeah, and as well, of course, Lakeland. So huge cross-border flow in milk, huge cross-border flow of lambs coming south, and we have this year a good number of beef cattle going north. Interestingly, one of the things, and one of the, if you like, outworkings of the pandemic was the development of the online sales at March, and that's really brought a huge number of northern buyers into the marketplace again, which is obviously good to see. So in theory, the island of Ireland issue is sorted, that there's a border-free zone or a non-commercial border. But of course, we have the UK introduced the controversial bill that is threatening to ignore parts of that withdrawal agreement that they don't like. Those things remain to be sorted out yet as well. And until we see everything signed, sealed and delivered, the handshakes and the smiles, well, maybe not, of course, in the present time handshakes, but everyone having signed off and the smiling pictures, until we see that, we can't be confident or sure of anything. Say the thinking is the deal's there to be done. Everybody knows what has to be done. Whether they get it over the line or not, my bet is that they will. but I wouldn't bet the farm on it.
But Phelim O'Neill, as always, it's been a fascinating few years. We're now on the home straight. Brinksmanship really to the fore at this stage, and I like what you said there. There's still a possibility, and let's hope, fingers crossed, because we still have a few weeks left, and let's hope we'll have a positive outcome, what could be a detrimental one in some quarters for the industry in Ireland. Phelim O'Neill, market specialist from the Irish Farmers Journal. As always, Phelim, thanks for taking our call, and hopefully we'll talk to you in a few weeks and we may have some even more positive news.
Thanks for that, Kieran.
Farmview with Kieran O'Connor on WLR.
With GlanbiaConnect.com. Thousands of products in the palm of your hand.
And you're welcome back to part 2 of Farmview. Now, before I talk to Paul Curran about his homegrown Christmas trees, let's have a look at some items from our farming calendar. First of all, turning to our farmer markets and country markets this Saturday, Waterford Farmers Market in John Roberts Square, and also, of course, on Saturday morning, we've Stradbally Farmers Market every Saturday from 10 until 1. Thursdays, Dungarvan Farmers Market, Grattan Square from 9 until 2 every Thursday morning. While on Fridays, Dungarvan Country Market's trading this week, of course, in the Scouts 10 in Abbeyside, but are moving back to the Causeway Tennis Club from next Friday, again training from 9 until 1. While Waterford Country Markets at St Olave's Hall, Chris was on to tell us that they're reopening. Great to hear they're reopening this Friday and will continue every Friday in St Olave's Hall from 9 until 1. To our marts, cattle and calf sale every Monday at Dungarvan Mart, and don't forget Dungarvan Mart will have a special section for weanlings every Monday. And also, of course, we have New Ross Mart every Saturday from 10 in the morning with their weekly weaning sale every Monday from 5:30. And don't forget, all marts are now online at livestocklive.com. Now, Farm Safety Code of Practice, well, their Farm Safety Code of Practice half-day training course will take place in the Medeligo Community Centre on Thursday next, the 10th of December from 7 p.m. Organised by Mobile Training. All COVID-19 guidelines are strictly adhered to. It's a very important course, Farm Safety Code of Practice, and indeed for more information you can contact Colette at mobiletraining.ie. And finally, on our point-to-point front, this Saturday we've the South Union point-to-point in Kinsale, and on Sunday we've the Kilmagany Hunts point-to-point very close to Carrick-on-Shore this Sunday afternoon.
Farmview with Kieran O'Connor on WLR.
With GlanbiaConnect.com. Ireland's biggest online farming shop and more.
Well, as we mentioned in last week's programme, I think it's very important that people, when they're looking for their Christmas tree this year, support local growers. Well, earlier in the week I got a chance to talk to a local grower from the Dungarvan area. He's Cumra Landscaping, Paul Curran, who's now this year involved in the Christmas tree market. First of all, Paul, where'd you get the idea from?
2011, I decided I'd plant a few trees there. My son was 10 at the time. And going forward, I said he'd have something to do when he's 18 or 19 or 20 to give me a hand with him. So,
and of course, you're involved in the landscaping game. You knew a lot about it, but this was a new venture for you. Where did you go for help, or was it suck it and see?
Suck it and see, and maybe the supplier that I got the small trees off of at the start gave me a good bit of advice. From Wicklow, actually, I got him.
So as regards variety in that, did he help you as well about the type of variety? And you might tell our listeners the type of variety, because they're beautiful looking trees and I love the shape, and they're very, very thick as well. Yeah,
it was Normandy fir I went for. He said it was they're disease tolerant and they grow nice.
Yes.
And there's Noble fir is another variety, but I went with all the one variety.
You mentioned 2011, and people, when they're going for the Christmas tree, don't realise how long it takes, because that was an investment you made planting those trees 9 years ago.
That's right, yes. And there's a nice bit of work in them as well.
Yeah.
Keeping them weed free and shaping and pruning them and spraying them for aphids and...
Yeah. And did you have a clear run, or was there a difficulty? Did you have to fence it off well and whatever?
Yeah, we fenced it off properly from day one when they were small.
Yes.
And it's kind of still good there.
So this is really your first big year into it. You're out here in Springmount Garage, the former Maloney's garage here, Springmount Dungarvan, a fabulous setup here. But as regards getting involved, this is really your first year.
Our first year, yeah. We've just had a few every year now with the last few years, but we have a good crop coming this year now. Be 300 or 400 of them ready.
And you individually cut them down yourselves? Like, is it hand done or
hand done? Yes,
hand
done.
Yeah.
Yes,
and as regards then wrapping them up, I think that's a great idea as well.
Yeah, we have a funnel wrapper, and you can just throw the tree in, and it just makes it. You can put it into the boot of your car then, no problem.
You mentioned shape and size, and that's very important. And from looking at here, what's the smallest tree you have, and what size do you go up to?
Yeah, we'd have kind of 5-ish up to about 12, 13 foot, depends.
And what's the most popular ones?
6, 7, 8.
6, 7, 8, yeah. And then as regards shape, do you have to do a lot of shaping, because they're beautifully shaped, or is there a lot of work involved, or are they naturally shaped?
No, you need to shape them.
Yes.
You need to shape them, yeah. there in the spring then we'd shape them up there. It'd be a few weeks at them.
So little did you think when you set it out in 2011, now it's finally come to fruition. I'm sure there are times you said, why did I get involved in the Christmas tree sector?
A lot of times, there's a lot of work.
You're involved in landscaping. How has landscaping been for you this year, particularly with COVID? Has it affected the Cumra landscaping?
Yeah, well, we're closed down for a while, but we kind of got going again then once they let us back. So yeah, we're very busy actually.
So you're here in Springmount, Dungarvan. When are you opening?
Yeah, we're open from now on until Christmas really, from 11 till 6.
And weekends?
That's true, 11 till 6.
Every day,
yeah.
Fair play.
Yeah.
Well listen Paul, you were a brave man, you got involved all those years ago. I'm delighted to see that your harvest has finally happened here. Beautiful looking trees, and best of luck to Cumra Landscaping here in Springmount, Dungarvan. Open every day from 11 till 6 right up till Christmas. Paul Curran, thanks for talking to us.
Thanks, Kieran.
Well, good news for children all over Waterford and the South East. The Ardmore Open Farm Christmas Extravaganza is thankfully going ahead, and great news for the Ardmore Open Farm. Indeed, always great supporters of our annual auction on Farmview. I'm joined by the lady herself, Bridget Cobert. Bridget, it's been a difficult year for you, particularly over the last few months.
Hi Kieran, yeah, it's been a very difficult year. Now I know it's difficult for everybody, but especially ourselves there. We were closed earlier in the year for 3 months, and we've been closed now since the last lockdown, since the 18th of October. And you know, all the employees, the girls, they're all payments and that, but we still have zookeepers and animals to keep, so like we still had full-time employment there. So it's tough going, but we're delighted now that we were able to open, and the response was just phenomenal. We couldn't get over it. We were booked out in 2 hours when we released the stocks.
That's unbelievable. And of course, just going back to COVID, the animals still have to be fed, the whole area has to be maintained, so you had all the costs without the benefit of people coming through the gate, families coming through. Yeah,
that's it, Kieran. That's why it's so important to us that we were able to do this event, because up to a month ago we didn't see how we could do it, and then we looked at it and we thought, look, fair enough, we may be in level 3, but we couldn't disappoint the kids either, and also financially we needed it too.
As regards the Christmas one, just before we come on air, you're up and running over 7.5 years. It's the 8th Christmas event, a very special event. How difficult was it, or what changes did you have to make the Christmas experience happen at the Ardmore Open Farm?
So normally every year you'd have a group of people going down every half hour. Now we have to limit it to 3 families every 15 minutes. They all go through individually, and with number restrictions, a group of 6 is maximum going down along the walkway. Obviously bigger families is different. And then also we're a bit unsure with the restaurant at the moment as regards restrictions, but again, tables, maximum 6 seating at tables, like it's all regulations. It's just all a bit of extra pressure on us, but look, we look forward to it, and I'm sure we'll get through it like we do every year.
Friday the 4th you're opening, you're running until the 23rd. As you say, it's completely booked out, but of course you're looking ahead at this stage even to 2021, and once again you've been great to give us 2 family vouchers for our annual auction. As regards the animals, the variety of animals, for people who haven't been to the Ardmore Open Farm, you might quickly the range and variety of animals you have at the Ardmore Open Farm.
Yeah, so probably the biggest attraction we have is we have a lynx cat. So he came to us last summer. George is his name. Now we have a lot of varieties of owls. We have the usual farm animals. We have raccoons, we have coatamundis, we have Arctic foxes. Some people may have not have seen them because they actually came just before the lockdown this year, so they weren't there last Christmas. We have the big giant donkey, and then we have the farm animals, the rabbits. Yeah. Now the hardest part for us this summer, we weren't able to do any, say we call it a petting time, where we take out the small animals and the kids were able, but due to social distancing we can't, and again at Christmas time we won't be able to, but the room will be open.
Since you've opened, I mentioned this is your 8th Christmas, you've also added in the pods. How difficult has it been, and what response are you getting to the pods?
The glamping pods, I think with them being an outside accommodation, it's probably the way things are going to go down the line, and because of it we have to get them planning permission for 3 more pods for next summer, and these will sleep larger families, they'll sleep 6 to 7 people. But no, we're delighted. We were fully booked all summer. Brilliant. And we're fully booked for Christmas, and it's our first Christmas having the glamping open for accommodation. And
as you said, going forward, that is the way forward. They're all individuals, so a family can go be totally isolated and yet have the benefit of the farm on hand. As regards to the new year then, you're booked out for Christmas opening the new year. Roughly when do you normally open in a normal year?
Usually we open the end of January, just when we have to take it down, decorations, and get the place cleaned as well. So hopefully looking forward that we will be able to open up again.
Now your Christmas extravaganza, of course, one man has been part and parcel, the mighty man himself, Frank, and once again he's been on board to give you that. He does a fabulous job.
He does. It's been snowing again in Ardmore. If you pass the gate you'll wonder. Yeah, he was down to us on Saturday, so it's beautiful again. It's fabulous.
Well, Bridget, listen to yourself and Dennis and all involved in the family. I know your dad, John Corbett, well known in farming circles, always there to give a hand as well. So you're opening on the 4th right up to the 23rd, and thanks again for the 2 family vouchers. If people want to find out more, there'll be lovely vouchers to give to people for Christmas for the Ardmore Open Farm for 2021. How can they contact?
Yeah, they're very popular voucher there. You can phone us on 024 87 600 or go onto our website ardmoreopenfarm.ie, and we can take payment and post it out. And hopefully with Waterford and the All Ireland, it'll be a great end to this year. Not a good year, but hopefully, look, Bridget, we'll have a good Christmas
thanks
as well.
Thanks a million. ardmoreopenfarm.ie. Thanks for the 2 family vouchers, and we'll be auctioning them on our auction at the end of December. Listen, thanks a million.
You're
Best of luck for the
Kieran.
Christmas.
Thank you.
And before I go on the racing and point-to-point front, we had a good week again for local Waterford connections. Cross-channel wins for Kappa jock Tom Quealy at Lingfield, while young Dungarvan jock Sean Houlihan, who's on a great run at present, had a nice winner at Southall. While back home, we'd wins at Dundalk for Knockeen Butlerstown trainer Henry de Bramid, as well as Rathgormack trainer Pat Flynn. And in Fairyhouse, Henry was back in the winners' enclosure, where he had a nice winner with young Strabley jock Emma Toomey riding her very first winner on the track. So well done to Emma there, the first of many, I'm sure. While on Sunday, Henry rounded off a great weekend for the Knockeen trainer when he took the featured Hatton Grace hurdle at Fairyhouse. While on the point-to-point front at Carlow on Sunday, Kinsale Begbez trainer Colin Motherway settled a nice winner, with owner, trainer and breeders Michael and Fiona O'Connor of Dungarvan had a very impressive winner with Tallow jock James Hannon in the winner's enclosure at Ballindennis. Don't forget, this Saturday we've the South Union's point-to-point at Kinsale, while on Sunday we've the Kilmagany Hunts point-to-point just outside Carrickonsure. Well, that's it for this week's programme. So from Ollie and Sean, again, thanks for all their help in putting this week's programme together. So from myself, Kieran O'Connor, stay safe, and hopefully I'll have your company again same time next week.
Farmview with Kieran O'Connor on WLR.
With GlanbiaConnect.com. Thousands of products in the palm of your hand.